The holiday season can feel extra stressful for people with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis because of the back-to-back food-centered holidays. Hi, I'm Danielle and I'm an IBD dietitian. This video is for you if you'd like 8 practical tips to optimize food intake during the holiday season. Jumping right in, tip 1, reach out to the host. If you feel comfortable reaching out to the host before a holiday party, you could ask what dishes he or she is planning to serve. This is a proactive step you can take to gather more information, and that information can help you make some personal decisions beforehand, like perhaps bringing a dish to the event that you know you can tolerate. Now, I know that might seem a little bit scary, at least it has been for some of my clients. So I just wanted to go through maybe a little example, a sample script of what you can do to potentially reach out to the host. So for this example, say I have Crohn's and say I can't tolerate gluten. And my symptoms are pretty bad after eating foods that contain gluten, so I am motivated to contact the host. The conversation could go something like this. Hey, host name. Thank you so much for inviting me to your holiday party. I'm really excited to attend. Would you mind sharing what dishes will be served at the party? I have a few food sensitivities related to my Crohn's disease, so I'm hoping to get a feel for what options will be there. Now here, the host is going to list off different dishes planning to be served at the event, and there are 2 potential scenarios. One, the host lists off some foods that you feel great about, super confident about. And in that case, you could thank the host for his or her time and end the conversation right there. But say the host lists off foods that happen to be your trigger foods. Here's a way we can tactfully assert our needs. So the host, maybe they say something like, oh yes, I decided on an Italian theme this year. Beef lasagna, garlic bread, and chocolate chip biscotti are on the menu. So if you're thinking, oh no, I'm not sure if I can eat any of those things, don't fret. You have an opportunity here to assert your needs and empower yourself. So you could ask to bring a dish to the party that you know you can tolerate. So you could say something like, wow, that sounds like an amazing spread. With my food sensitivities, would it be okay if I brought a gluten-free dish like gluten-free pasta? I'd love to share it with everyone. So you can see the conversation doesn't have to be painful. You could absolutely offer to bring something to share with everyone so you can all enjoy it and you know you'll feel okay after. Okay, tip 2. Try having small, frequent meals on the day of the party. Smaller portions consumed at more frequent intervals throughout the day are usually better tolerated by the gut with IBD. So, and also having a small meal before you head to the party will also help stabilize appetite and hunger levels, preventing you from feeling like you're starving when you get there. So just to share an example, here's a game plan we created for one of my clients during Thanksgiving. For background, this client's family had their Thanksgiving meal at 3 p.m., so right between kind of conventional lunch and dinner hours. Pre-Crohn's diagnosis, this client would starve herself for the entire day to prepare for that large 3 p.m. Thanksgiving meal. But post-Crohn's diagnosis, she just could not process large portions or amounts of foods anymore. So I recommended that she eat her normal breakfast at 8 a.m., her normal lunch around 11, and a snack at 1:30 before leaving. Have that Thanksgiving small meal at 3 p.m. and then plan to have another small meal after she got home around 7:30. And you guys, my client had so much success following this plan. Having the smaller portions earlier in the day made her treat a Thanksgiving meal just like another one of her small meal opportunities during the day, especially when she knew she'd be having another small meal again after she got home in the evening. Okay, next tip, tip 3, eat slowly and chew, chew, chew. The brain needs about 20 minutes to realize the body's full. Therefore, eating slowly could help prevent eating a very large meal during the party that may contribute to symptoms and discomfort. Also, digestion begins in the mouth. So, chewing foods thoroughly makes it easier for your gut on the way down. So, a good example of this is some people with IBD have trouble tolerating whole nuts, but are able to tolerate smooth nut butters just fine. So, what's the difference there? Texture. The nut butter has been blenderized to be smooth. So by chewing your food really well, you're essentially doing the same thing, breaking it down to a smoother texture, making it easier for your gut on the way down. So I like to tell my clients, chew like a chipmunk. Chew, 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 and then chew some more. You've likely heard this next recommendation before, but you could consider low fiber. Now, the reasoning behind this is because a low fiber diet can be useful for short-term control of gastrointestinal symptoms and to reduce the amount of stool output. So that's really why there's an asterisk here. If you're having a lot of symptoms, this recommendation could be helpful. But if you're not having a lot of symptoms, you may not need to be as concerned about this recommendation. Something to keep in mind is that fiber is only found in plant foods like fruits, veggies, whole grains, beans, nuts, or seeds. This doesn't mean you need to cut out all of those foods. Some fruits and veggies happen to be naturally lower in fiber compared to others, for example, carrots. But another pro tip to keep in mind is that cooking reduces the fiber content inside of plant-based foods. So say you're at a party and for whatever reason, they have both raw carrots and cooked carrots. While the carrots themselves, as we just mentioned, are naturally lower in fiber compared to other veggies, the cooked carrots will be even lower in fiber. Moving on to the next tip, if you're lactose intolerant, consider limiting dairy foods. Now, while the incidence of lactose intolerance is not greater in people with IBD compared to the general population, if you are lactose intolerant, it will cause gas, bloating, cramping, and diarrhea 30 to 90 minutes after eating dairy products, especially in larger amounts. So what does this practically mean? If you're at a holiday party, you may see quite a spread of dairy-containing foods like cheeses, casseroles, heavy sauces, and desserts like pies or cakes or cookies. I think there are a few things to consider here. The first question being, how lactose intolerant are you? And what I mean by this is that different dairy products have different amounts of lactose in them. So are you like me, where you know you're going to have a bad time if you drink a whole gallon of milk in one sitting, but you're totally fine having cheese, which is naturally lower in lactose? Or are you like my husband with Crohn's, who is super lactose intolerant? I mean, even the smallest amount of lactose causes him pretty immediate symptoms. So knowing how lactose intolerant you are could determine your dairy recommendation at a party. Now, I also think it's helpful to be aware of which foods naturally have more or less lactose, like I just mentioned. So for example, say we're talking about the cheese plate at the party. The soft cheeses are going to have more lactose in them than the harder cheeses. So say you're only a little bit lactose intolerant, but you still wanted to enjoy a cheese plate at the party, perhaps you could shy away from the brie here, a soft cheese, and instead enjoy a hard cheese like Swiss or H cheddar. Okay, and lastly, something worth mentioning is that over-the-counter lactase enzyme tablets, also known as dairy pills, may be beneficial if you're consuming dairy at a meal. The enzyme inside of this supplement are made to be the same as the natural lactase enzymes found in our guts naturally. And having these can help kind of reduce that discomfort and symptoms when having lactose. These enzymes have really helped my husband in a pinch. They're not a perfect fix, but they may help when you choose to have a little bit of dairy if you're lactose intolerant. Most pharmacies and grocery stores sell this over the counter. We found the most cost-effective option at Costco. The Kirkland generic brand is only about a penny for each tablet. Next tip, consider limiting concentrated sweets like juices, candy, and soda, because they can pull water into your intestine, which may contribute to watery stools and diarrhea. Now, I appreciate this is not a fun recommendation, especially during the holidays. So I think something practical to keep in mind is portion size. The larger the portion per sitting, the likelier symptoms may develop. So like say apple cider is being served as the drink at a party. You may tolerate half a cup, no problem. But if you have a few cups in one sitting, it may contribute to watery stools. It just kind of may be too much sugar for the intestines to process at one time. So timing can play a factor. Perhaps instead of drinking the beverage super quickly, you could sip on it and savor the flavor, and it wouldn't be as much sugar all concentrated at once for the gut to process. Next, consider limiting alcohol consumption. Some people with IBD may be able to enjoy moderate amounts of alcohol without experiencing adverse side effects. But current research indicates that alcohol causes most people with IBD to experience worse symptoms. Side effects of even moderate alcohol consumption may include gut irritation, diarrhea, and bleeding. And sadly, that's what happens to my husband with Crohn's. So I know the last slide we talked about limiting concentrated sweets like soda or juice, and now we're talking about limiting alcohol. So you may be thinking, geez, Danielle, well, what can I actually drink at a party other than water? And that is a great question. I have a few ideas for you. So one could be sparkling water. I know that's kind of having a trendy moment right now, and they come in some fun flavors, especially for the holidays like cranberry. You could also choose perhaps some lower sugar beverages, like for example, ginger beer, which is non-alcoholic. Ginger beer oftentimes has less sugar than ginger ale. For example, one brand I'm familiar with, not sponsored or paid to mention, is Fever Tree ginger beer. That has about half the sugar as your regular Coke or soda. A third idea would be like the apple cider we mentioned last slide. You could dilute that just a little bit. So perhaps you could do like a 50-50 ratio of water to apple cider, and that will reduce the concentration of that sugar all at once for your gut. And lastly, depending on the nature of the party, take moments to focus on non-food related activities like spending quality time with family or friends. So those were just a few holiday season tips. But if you find yourself struggling with food during this time of year, let's chat. I love to share even more tips and personalize them to your specific situation. I'll share how to book an initial chat in the description of this video. Thanks so much for watching.